Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos, and on this video I am going to be giving you my match reaction for the Watford-Liverpool game. Watford beaten Liverpool by 3 goals to 0 yesterday at Vicarage Road. The win takes Watford out of the relegation zone. It was goals from Ismail Assar. He scored 2 of the goals, and the third goal was from Troy Deeney. But you've got to credit Watford, and I think from a lot of Liverpool fans' perception, they've also, give Watford a lot of credit. The 3 of their goals that they scored were very, very good. And they were very, very clinical, were Watford. And they also did create some good chances. They showed good attacking intent. Also, defensively, Watford did really, really well. Liverpool did have a lot of the possession, but didn't really do much with it. I did read some stats of the game. Watford had around 14 shots in the game. Liverpool only had 7. So Liverpool had half of the shots of what Watford had had. And, Watford had around 5 shots on target. Liverpool only had 1 shot on target. Liverpool were extremely poor in the game. Obviously, it doesn't change out in terms of, the title. Obviously, Liverpool are still going to win the title because they still do remain 22 points clear. So they are still going to win their first Premier League title in 30 years. But Watford are the first team to beat Liverpool this season. And, Watford have ended Liverpool's 44-match unbeaten run. From a Liverpool perspective, they actually, will be disappointed because if Liverpool had beaten Watford yesterday, they would have made history because that would have been 19 straight wins on the bounce in the Premier League if Liverpool had won. So they would have smashed Manchester City's record. But as it stands now, Liverpool are level with Manchester City on an 18-game winning run. But, it doesn't change out in terms of the title. But Liverpool still only need 4 wins out of their 10 remaining games to clinch the Premier League title and that. I only watched some highlights of the game, like I mentioned. I was surprised that Dejan Lovren started in the game for Liverpool. I think he started because Joe Gomez has sustained a minor injury. That was Dejan Lovren's first start for Liverpool, I think, since December the 7th. But he's one player Liverpool do need to get rid of in the summer and that. But, very, very surprised that Watford beat Liverpool because like I mentioned prior to the game, I predicted Liverpool would beat Watford by 3 goals to 0 because, like I mentioned, Watford, are fighting a relegation battle. I did say, though, they have improved under Nigel Pearson's guidance. And I can probably say, Liverpool may be losing another game before the end of the season at least. They have got games now coming up thick and fast. They've still obviously, got to play the second leg against Atletico Madrid. They're 1-0 down from the first leg. They've got Chelsea in the Cup on Tuesday. They've still got City to play in the league. They've also got, to go away at Arsenal. They've still got Chelsea to play in the Premier League. But Liverpool are still going to win the Premier League. That's guaranteed. But, yesterday that was Liverpool's first defeat in the Premier League since the loss to Manchester City, which I think was back in January of last year. So that's the last time Liverpool lost prior to the Watford game yesterday. I think it's their 4th defeat in all competitions this season. Of course, don't forget they did lose to Villa earlier on in the season. But Liverpool had played the under-23s. They lost in the Carabao Cup. They lost to Napoli in the group stage. They lost to Atletico Madrid. And of course now they have lost to Watford of Liverpool. So Liverpool will not be the Invincibles. So they won't become the second team in the Premier League era to go undefeated. So from an Arsenal perspective, they'll be very delighted. They'll be very delighted with that. And, I can still see, definitely Liverpool, getting at least 100 points this season. I think they'll probably get more than 100 points. So I do believe they'll break Manchester City's record from a couple of years ago. Because don't forget, Manchester City, did get 100 points a couple of years ago and that. But yeah, I did watch the highlights of the game. Now, Liverpool were very, very poor. And, I think in their last 3 or 4 games, Liverpool haven't been the same. Obviously, they've got Jordan Henderson out with injury. I think he's expected back sometime this month is Jordan Henderson. He came off injured in the Atletico Madrid game to Jordan Henderson. James Milner's recently sustained a muscle injury. But I don't think Liverpool were brilliant against Norwich, when they beat Norwich by 1 goal to 0. They weren't great in that game, but still got the result. I don't think, they was good against West Ham. They had to come from behind to beat West Ham. They wasn't good in the first leg against Atletico Madrid. Obviously, in that game, Liverpool didn't register one single shot on target. And that was the only second time they'd done that under the Jurgen Klopp era. And Jurgen Klopp's now managed around 250-odd games for Liverpool. So I do believe in the last 3 or 4 games, Liverpool haven't been at their best. They haven't been at their best. But yeah, so now obviously Liverpool have got to move on. They do play Chelsea on Tuesday in the FA Cup, and obviously that's going to be a difficult game for Liverpool. It's going to be interesting to see how Jurgen Klopp approaches that game against Chelsea. I think he'll play quite a few of the first teamers. I think he'll also play some of the young players because the FA Cup isn't a priority for Liverpool. On the other hand, they haven't won the FA Cup since 2006, and that's around 14 years ago now. So I'll be interested to see how he approaches that game, Jurgen Klopp. Of course, Chelsea, they're not in a good run of form either. They've had a lot of bad results recently. Chelsea, dropped points yesterday. They drew 2-2 with Bournemouth. They got thrashed by Bayern Munich last week in the last 16 of the Champions League 3-0. They lost to us 2-0, so Chelsea are in a bad run of form. So that Liverpool-Chelsea game could go either way. Obviously, Chelsea progressed to the 5th round by beating Forest and Hull. They beat Forest in the 3rd round and Hull in the 4th round. And Liverpool progressed to the 5th round for the first time under Klopp by beating Everton in the 3rd round. They're beating Shrewsbury in the 4th round. Obviously, their under-23s beat Shrewsbury. And, that's, basically how, they progressed to the 5th round of the competition. My overarching view on Frank Lampard is that I don't think he is the right manager for Chelsea. I just think he's too inexperienced as a manager. Same sort of perception, with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's also inexperienced. Lampard is in his first season at Chelsea. You've got Solskjaer, that's in his first full season at Man United. But Chelsea, have got a lot of problems. Don't forget they've had injuries of Chelsea. Obviously, Ruben Loftus-Cheek's been out, Tammy Abraham, Christian Pulisic, N'Golo Kante, recent absentee, I think. Marco Alonso was injured earlier on in the season, so Chelsea have had a lot of injuries this season. Chelsea haven't been the same team since they lost Eden Hazard last summer to Real Madrid. They did get their transfer ban, don't forget, overturned, did Chelsea, so from Chelsea perspective, they would have been happy about that. But yeah, it could go either way at Stamford Bridge on Tuesday. Liverpool did beat them in the league at Stamford Bridge earlier on in the season by 2-1. But like I mentioned, it'd be interesting to see how Jurgen Klopp approaches that game. Liverpool have had a lot of injuries this season, like I mentioned, but it hasn't really, affected Liverpool, with the injuries they've had. Obviously, they've still got Nathaniel Klein out, Shaqiri's out, Joe Gomez is now out, Henderson, of course, is out, their captain. So they have had a lot of injuries. Fabinho come back recently, Chamberlain come back, Joe Matip come back, Lovren's just recently come back, so they have had a lot of injuries this season of Liverpool, definitely. But, they are going to win their first Premier League title. It will be their 19th overall. So that means, there will be one behind us because we're on 20. But in terms of Premier Leagues, Liverpool will still be 12 behind us because we're on 13 Premier League titles. But, Liverpool still haven't lost at Anfield for almost 3 years. So take that into account. And, are still one of the best teams in the world, are Liverpool. It's the best Liverpool team I've seen probably in Premier League history. It definitely isn't that. And, Jurgen Klopp is the best manager that Liverpool have had in this generation. Like I mentioned, up and down the generations, Liverpool have had a lot of good managers. But Jurgen Klopp's the best manager they've had in this generation. Jurgen Klopp is under contract with Liverpool until 2024. Don't forget he extended his contract earlier on in the season, did Jurgen Klopp. And I think minimum he will see out his contract with Liverpool. So if he does see out his contract, that means he would have been at Liverpool around 9 years because he's been a long-serving manager as it is now. I think he's now into his 5th season with Liverpool is Jurgen Klopp. But when he does eventually leave Liverpool, more than likely he will make a return back to Germany. He will make a return back to Germany. But Jurgen Klopp, his philosophy is right for Liverpool. Obviously, Liverpool have played really, really good football this season. They've had quite a few bad games, but the vast majority of their games have been very, very good. They've created good chances. The football's been very expansive. And yeah, Liverpool have spent around 460 million since Jurgen Klopp got recommended in. they haven't spent nowhere near to the extent of what we've spent or Manchester City have spent and that. So Liverpool have been sensible with their recruitment. So take that into account. They've been sensible with their recruitment. But Liverpool, of course, are still in the Champions League, and like I mentioned, Liverpool have got a good pedigree in the Champions League. Out of the English clubs, they are the most successful team in the Champions League because Liverpool have won 6 Champions Leagues. They won it last season against Tottenham. They progressed to the final the season before but lost 3-1. So I don't probably they won't win the Champions League this season, Liverpool, but I'm still very confident that they can, they can come back from that 1-goal deficit. I think Liverpool will definitely beat Atletico Madrid in the second leg at Anfield. I think the second leg is on the 11th of March. Like I mentioned, Atletico Madrid have had a lot of problems. They haven't been so good this season. Diego Simeone's been a long-serving manager. He's enjoyed 8.5 years with Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid haven't been the same since Griezmann left. Obviously, lost Diego Godin. Obviously, they've had injuries of Atletico Madrid. João Felix has been out. Hector Herrera, Kieran Trippier. Costa Morata have just come back. Maybe some of their other injuries now have just come back. Atletico Madrid. But I think Liverpool are going to win the second leg to progress into the last day of the competition. I do see, that happening. But, Jurgen Klopp, has won quite a few trophies now. He's won nowhere near to the extent of what Pep Guardiola's won or Jose Mourinho's won. But, he has now obviously, won 3 major honours with Liverpool. They won the FIFA Club World Cup earlier on in the season. They won the Super Cup early on in the season. And they won the Champions League at the end of last season. Don't forget, Klopp did win a couple of titles with Dortmund. And when they win the Premier League this season, it will be his 4th major honour as Liverpool manager. And I think like 6 in total, including what he won at Borussia Dortmund. But, Jurgen Klopp's always had a style of play. And I think his style of play has improved during his time with Liverpool, but I thought his style of play was very, very good when he was at Borussia Dortmund, definitely. But, Liverpool were close to winning the Premier League last season. They finished on 97 points. Don't forget, they came close under the Brendan Rodgers era, but obviously, didn't get it then. I think they came close under the Rafa Benitez era. But, this season they are definitely, going to win it. But, it was just a bad day at the office, that game against Watford. And I thought Liverpool were going to become the Invincibles, but, it does have to end sometime, you're unbeaten run. But they did do well to go 44 games unbeaten. I think Arsenal back in 2004, didn't they, go 49 games unbeaten? And, we ended their unbeaten run on their 50th game. But, if Liverpool had won, they'd have gone 19, it would have been 19 straight wins for them in the Premier League. But, Liverpool now will be looking to bounce back. In terms of the transfers and that, of course, Liverpool are making plans for the summer. They have got quite a few players on their agenda who they could go in for. On the other hand, I think definitely Liverpool are going to get rid of players in the summer so they can generate funds. I think the players that are going to leave Liverpool in the summer, I definitely think Nathaniel Klein's going to go. Very, very injury prone is Nathaniel Klein and doesn't get in the team anywhere. I can see Dejan Lovren going because a lot of Liverpool fans are criticising Dejan Lovren. I think they'll get rid of Shaqiri. They'll get rid of Divock Origi, because obviously they don't get in the team enough. They're basically used as backups. I think they'll also get rid of Adam Lallana. I think he's set to leave on a free transfer at the end of the season. Actually, Adam Lallana and Origi, I think, came on in the game yesterday. But Adam Lallana hasn't done bad. He just doesn't get in Liverpool's team enough, does Adam Lallana. I think, so they'll move probably around 4 or 5 players on in the summer, will Liverpool. I think these players that will move on, but these players that will also move on in the future. I can't see Salah from now on spending the entirety of his career with Liverpool. I think they'll move Georginio Wijnaldum on maybe next year or two. Maybe they'll move Joe Matip on. So Liverpool will get rid of players. Of course, Liverpool did sign Takumi Minamino. I think he actually came on yesterday, didn't he, Takumi Minamino? His appearances are actually limited in the Premier League. He gets more opportunities in the cup games and that. So he'll probably get given a chance on Tuesday against Chelsea. Liverpool did pay 7.25 million for Takumi Minamino. So probably will get more chances, like I mentioned, going on into next season. But Liverpool do want to make more signings. They wanted to make more signings in January, reflecting on the injuries they had, so they could get covered up for their injuries. So the players that Liverpool are in for now, Timo Werner, there has been a lot of speculation going on regarding Timo Werner. And I think Timo Werner's preference is a move to Liverpool. Liverpool have been in for him at least in the last couple of months. Liverpool have been locked in negotiations over getting a deal over the line for Timo Werner. Now, the only element of concern that, is that he won't get in the team week in, week out. I think Liverpool would have to sell one of their attacking trio, for Timo Werner to get in the team week in, week out. Now, my club, Man United, have been in for him. Also, too, Barcelona have expressed their interest. Timo Werner's also been talking a lot about Liverpool recently. And, Jurgen Klopp has been satisfied with his comments. He's come out and said, Liverpool are one of the best teams in the world. And he also said Jurgen Klopp's one of the best managers in the world. And this is what Timo Werner said. Timo Werner's got around a 51 million release clause, has he? At RP Leipzig. I think it's due to expire in April. He's a very, very good player. He's 23, 24 years of age, Timo Werner. I think he's now into his 4th season at RP Leipzig. He's made 116 appearances and scored 71 goals for them. And, before he was at RP Leipzig, he was at Stuttgart. And he became the youngest player to ever represent Stuttgart and that. But Timo Werner will eventually, leave RP Leipzig. But I think Liverpool are the favourites to sign Timo Werner. So he's one player on their agenda. Also, Jadon Sancho, he's another player on Liverpool's agenda. Again, same perception with Werner. He won't get in Liverpool's team week in, week out, Jadon Sancho. Also, Kai Havertz, he's another player on Liverpool's agenda. He's going to cost Liverpool over £100 million. So Liverpool are making plans for the summer. But I do believe Liverpool are only going to be one-season wonders. I think they're going to be probably winning the league for at least the next couple of years, or at least challenging for the league, because, they'll look to strengthen up more. I do believe Liverpool are going to dominate English football at least for the next 10 years now, and I think they are going to start to replicate what we did under Alex Ferguson, because we was magnificent under Alex Ferguson. He enjoyed, 26, 27 year tenure at the club. Didn't win out in his first 4 years. But look what he went and accomplished after that 4 years and not winning out. A fantastic manager was Alex Ferguson. But on the other hand, Jurgen Klopp, he wasn't great to start with, but, Liverpool backed him, give him time to address the deficiencies in the squad. And, look how good, Liverpool are now. They might have lost to Watford, but, it's only one defeat. Just from Liverpool perspective, they'll be hopeful that that defeat doesn't have a bad effect on them. And, they'll be hopeful now that they don't go on a bad run of form. So take that into account and that. But, like I mentioned, Liverpool have got the best centre-half in the world through Virgil van Dijk. Of course, Liverpool paid £75 million for Virgil van Dijk. He's the second most expensive centre-half in the world. Of course, he's been instrumental to their success since his arrival from Southampton back in January 2018. He won the PFA Player of the Year, was it last season? Won the Premier League Player of the Season, reflecting on his good run of performances. And don't forget, there was a period where, no player managed to dribble past Virgil van Dijk. Very, very good centre-half is Virgil van Dijk, definitely. I think he's still got around 3 years left on his contract with Liverpool. They've got two fantastic fullbacks in Andrew Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. They only paid £3 million for Andrew Robertson. If they were to sell him in the next 2 years' time, they'd still get a lot more than the $3 million they paid for him. Trent Alexander-Arnold, up until this point, he's spent the entirety of his career with Liverpool. He's been there several years. Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think his crossing's improving. He's also provided a lot of assists at Liverpool as Trent Alexander-Arnold. So, yeah, very, very good fullback. Liverpool have also got a lot of midfielders. I think Enton's done good for them this season. Fabinho's done really, really well. Naby Keita, he's played in quite a few games, but he doesn't really get in the team, does Naby Keita. I think he predominantly plays in the number 8. Salah, like I mentioned, hasn't been great this season for Liverpool. Hasn't really had that clinical element. He's still overall a world-class player, and Liverpool would get a lot more than the 30-odd million that they paid for him, even if they were to sell him in the next couple of years' time. Also, too, they would, yeah. And Salah, he's not been clinical. He's created a lot of chances, but he just hasn't been clinical enough. Mane and Firmino have been in much better form than Mohamed Salah. But I still think overall they are not better players than Mohamed Salah, to be quite honest with you, in that, they are not better players. But, 10 games remaining now in the season for them. 10 games remaining. They've still registered 79 points from 28 Premier League games. And, Liverpool have still been breaking records. And I think they will finish at least on 100 points this season, will Liverpool, definitely in that. But yeah, from a Watford perspective, like I mentioned, they'll be really, really happy, to get the win. Very, very big win for Watford. If they continue playing like that for the rest of the season, I think realistically Watford could stay up. They are now out of the relegation zone. But Watford, were magnificent. They deserved it. They caused a lot of problems for Liverpool. Deulofeu had a good game. By the way, he came off injured in the game, did Deulofeu. So then maybe, Liverpool, should have done something when he came off. Because I think in Deulofeu, one of their best players, like I mentioned, Troy Deeney had a really, really good game for Watford in that. So yeah, so that's your match reaction for the Watford and Liverpool game. I think I will be doing a preview for the Chelsea game, and be either later on today or it will be tomorrow. So yeah, and Manchester United go up against Everton today at Goodison Park. I've already given my preview for the game. I gave you my predictions yesterday. It's going to be a very, very difficult game against Everton today. Like I mentioned, Everton have really rejuvenated themselves since Carlo Ancelotti came in. Carlo Ancelotti is their third manager this season. Before they had Ancelotti, they had Duncan Ferguson. Before they had Duncan Ferguson, they had Marco Silva, did Everton and that. But, he's really galvanised the team as Carlo Ancelotti. And Everton have got a lot of good attacking players that could cause us all sorts of problems. They've got, Richarlison, Bernard, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, one of their best players. Walcott, Iwobi, two former Arsenal players. A good centre-half in Yerry Mina. They've got Schneiderlin and Michael Keane, were two former Man United players of Everton. So they have got a lot of good players in their team that could cause us all sorts of problems. Solskjaer has confirmed that Manchester United will not capitulate, this time, like we did to Everton last season, because last season we lost to Everton 4-0. And that's one of the worst, that's one of the heaviest defeats we've had under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era, But I think, this game today will be totally comparison to the one last season. But, Everton have beaten us quite a few times at Goodison Park. 4-0 last season, 3-0 there under Louis van Gaal, 2-0 there under David Moyes. I think we did beat them under Jose Mourinho on that. So in recent years, they've done really, really well against us at Goodison Park at Everton. I think this is going to be our Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Carlo Ancelotti's first meeting as managers and that. The game at Old Trafford earlier on in the season was 1-1. Carlo Ancelotti's obviously, give his verdict on Solskjaer. He's praised him, for how good he's done at Manchester United and that. But, it will be a very, very interesting game. And it's going to be interesting to see how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer approaches this game. I think he will make some changes from the 5-0 win against Club Brugge. But, we're in a good run of form now. We're in a really, really good run of form. We're unbeaten in our last 7 games in all competitions. We beat Everton today. That will be our 3rd win on the trot in the Premier League if we do win today. And now the top 4 race is right up. And, Leicester losing to Norwich, was it on Friday? Chelsea dropping points against Bournemouth yesterday. And, so we're now only, 4 points behind Chelsea. And I think if we win today, we can definitely get that top 4. Obviously, we've got games coming up thick and fast. Obviously, we've got City to play at home. Tottenham as well is coming up, which is also going to be a very, very difficult game. More than likely, we could drop points at least in one of them games. But, yeah, we will see what happens. But it's going to be a very, very good game today against Everton. I've already given you some of the team news building up to the game. There's been talk saying that Anthony Martial could be out, because Solskjaer did confirm he was left out of, the squad for the game against Club Brugge, because he has sustained a thigh injury in training with Anthony Martial, and Martial sustained quite a few injuries this season for Man United, but he was recently in a good run of form as well. Hopefully Martial's injury is not too severe, so he could be a doubt for today's game, and he has been playing in that number 9 role this season, even though he does predominantly play on the left. Anthony Martial, he's been playing on the left in the past 4 seasons. It's only been this season he's been playing in that number 9 role. We know Rashford's out until the end of the season. Well, could be out until the end of the season. We've had some news regarding Marcus Rashford. From Rashford's perception, he's confident he can return to the first team before the end of the season. And Solskjaer has confirmed that Rashford will be fit for the Euros. Rashford has got a back injury, but there's been positivity coming out regarding his recent scan results and could play before the end of the season and that. Rashford, of course, was expected back sometime this month, but Rashford has been a big miss. Odion Ighalo should be making his full Premier League debut today for the club. I'm hopeful that he can score. And I do believe Odion Ighalo is a good cover-up for Marcus Rashford. I can't see us getting him on a permanent transfer. We've got him on loan until the end of the season, but he's done really, really well. We could get him permanently if he hits the ground running and, he's very, very consistent, or we're to get more injuries to our attacking players, then we could make his deal permanent. Obviously, no Paul Pogba still. I've been reading recent reports about Pogba, and it did say there's a 50-50 chance Pogba could be back for the City game. But it's more likely, he will be back for the Tottenham game. Solskjaer did say that Paul Pogba's return is not imminent. This is what he said. But Pogba did confirm that he is close to returning because he is stepping up his fitness regime. He's Paul Pogba. He's only played 8 games this season for Man United. His appearances have been limited, have Paul Pogba's. He hasn't started a game since September, hasn't played since Boxing Day, but I think he's on his way out of the club in the summer. He'll either go to Real Madrid or he will make a return back to Turin. We've had Bay, that's just recently come back. Of course, Scott McTominay should be involved today because he's just recently come back as McTominay. Of course, Foster Mensah and Tuan Zebe are stepping up their fitness regimes. Lee Grant's still out. So it's very, very good, that players are now coming back from injury. That's, very, very good news. Very, very good result through the week against Club Brugge, winning by 5-0. It was good to see us progress to the last 16 of the Europa League. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes scoring in that game. That's his second goal now for Manchester United. He's also provided 2 assists. It was good to see Odion Ighalo score his first goal for the football club on his full debut for Manchester United. It was good to see McTominay, and Fred also scored 2 goals. There were Fred's first 2 goals for first 2 goals in 17 or 18 months or something like that. But it was a very, very good performance against Club Brugge. And we are emerged as one of the favourites to win the Europa League. We won it back in 2017 under the Jose Mourinho era. We won the Europa League. And it is a priority for Man United because it's a chance of us getting some silverware on the board. Plus, it's another route to Champions League football. So we can win it. And as you all know, we've been drawn against Lask in the last 16. Never really heard of them, to be honest with you. Solskjaer did have an element of concerns about getting into Milan, by the way, due to the coronavirus. He had concerns about that. But we have got lost Lask. So realistically, we should progress into the last 8 of the competition. The FA Cup's a priority for us. Derby's coming up. We're into the 5th round of the competition. So that's another chance of getting some silverware on the board. I've been very, very impressed with Bruno Fernandes. He's enjoyed a fantastic start to his Manchester United career. He's the difference now in our team, is Bruno Fernandes. And I think, he's key to our rebuilding process under Solskjaer. He's very instrumental. His decision-making is good. He scores goals. He creates chances. He passes the ball well. And he's the difference in this team. And he's one of the best players we've recruited in, for a long time, is Bruno Fernandes. So he's definitely the difference. Fred's done very, very well for the club recently. He does well alongside Matic. He does well alongside McTominay, but from my own perception, he looks much better alongside McTominay does Fred. Fred still isn't at that level as yet. I thought he did really, really well in Ukraine at Shakhtar Donetsk. Obviously, we got Fred under Mourinho, but under Mourinho, let's be honest, Fred never really got his opportunities, did he? So, but I think since Solskjaer's come in, he has galvanised him a lot, and, he has been given them opportunities as Fred. The match reaction should be coming up for the Everton game later on today. It should be coming up at 4 or 5 o'clock maybe, dependent on, what I am currently doing. But, rotation is going to happen a lot. We are going to be rotating a lot with the games that Manchester United have got coming up. But we need to, get Champions League football, because we get Champions League football, we'll generate more money into the club. The resources of the club will be better in general. If we don't get any European football, that will have a bad influence on the club, because I think we'll lose money. Solskjaer said we'll suffer more without Champions League, and obviously our revenue is predicted to drop by around £70 million from from around 627 million. 627 million. That's obviously, what must have come into the club in revenue. So we do need to secure European football. But we are in a good run of form, and I think, Solskjaer will be given another season at the club if we can keep this good run of form up. And of course, if we can, get, European football and that. Some United fans are Solskjaer in and some United fans are Solskjaer out still. But, that is very, very debatable. But you've had Ed Woodward coming out, Matic, Beckham last week, backing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes, below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribe. As always, take care. God bless. See you all again very, very soon.